But let's start with the biggest story in Melbourne today, and that's the North Melbourne football coach stepping down indefinitely. What happened to Alistair Clarkson should shame the Hawthorn Football Club, his old club, the AFL, the ABC and the football media. Those who have recklessly and viciously defamed Clarkson and Brisbane coach Chris Fagan and former Hawthorn player development manager Jason Burt could face stark consequences if the trio exercise their legal rights. All three have been slandered based on the flimsiest of evidence. But it was Clarkson who faced the most monstrous allegations. That's in the report commissioned by Hawthorn, which were uncritically accepted by the media, uncritically. The AFL, along with Hawthorn, could also pay a heavy financial price for the self-created calamity that sees the four-time premiership coach step down from his current role to focus on his physical and emotional well-being. From the get-go, Clarko and co were deemed guilty and were not afforded the chance to prove their innocence. The shoot first, ask questions later approach has endured, and Clarkson is said to be particularly aggrieved at being denied the opportunity to present his version of events to investigators. Deprived of any notion of due process, Clarkson is naturally frustrated and angry.
When he leaves this workplace and he goes home, and then he's dealing with the constant unknown around this investigation, it's really taken a mental toll to the point where he just feels like he needs to get himself right before he can help his family, first and foremost, and us as a club.
Clarkson has suffered through 8 months of hell, where he's watched on helplessly as his good name has been dragged through the mud, all thanks to allegations from anonymous accusers in an obviously flawed activist report that was leaked to the media. Clarkson's nightmare began when the report that was compiled without a single non-Indigenous person being interviewed was leaked to the ABC, who promptly proceeded to name and shame the accused while protecting the identities of the accusers. The national broadcaster painted Clarkson as some sort of a monster responsible for racist bullying and human rights abuses that were so egregious that it led to miscarriages and long-term trauma. The rest of the media weren't far behind, all eager to outdo each other when reporting about this. The reporting often amounted to race-baiting hyperbole. Of course, it doesn't help that much of the AFL media has the political sensibilities of an over-emotional 14-year-old girl who's just finished reading the Communist Manifesto. The politics of the media, coupled with their insatiable appetite for a big scalp, saw opinion masquerading as news and the allegations treated as facts. Nine's Caroline Wilson referred to Hawthorn's racist past, as she called what were untested, often self-serving allegations, the greatest scandal to engulf the AFL. ABC regular Jess Maguire tweeted, "Halfway through Russell Jackson's latest story on Hawthorn, and I'm honestly floored. There is simply no way to justify any of Clarkson's behaviour. It's like a horror film." Opportunistic politicians were also keen to join the pile-on, including Greens leader Adam Band, who tweeted, "The report of racist and sexist coercion at Hawthorn are sickening. My thoughts are with those who came forward, their families and the First Nations community." Clarkson is at the moment being pressured to take part in what the AFL is calling a mediation process that requires him to submit to a list of demands from the accusers, including private and public apologies, contrition, and termination of legal rights. That's not mediation in any sense of the word, and Clarkson has done well not to be bullied into a flawed process, which looks like it has a predetermined outcome. The AFL's handling of this matter is proving to be almost as shambolic as Hawthorn's. The saga was supposed to be wrapped up in 2022, but is still ongoing with no end date, and with Clarkson thus far unable to give his side of the story, to the supposedly independent four-person panel examining the allegations. I mean, is it any wonder that the injustices of it all has become too much for him and he stepped down today for the sake of his health? There's no return date, but the club does expect him to return. Kangaroos football boss Todd Viney believes Clarkson won't be lost to the game.
I personally don't. Certainly that's a possibility, but I don't think. I think that he just needs a little bit of time. There's no indication in any of the conversations yesterday that was the end of Alistair Clarkson. We feel really confident that he just needs some time to heal, and he'll be back and take control of the club again and help us get back to the battle of contending for silverware.
Alistair Clarkson certainly deserves more than his legacy being tainted by this sordid affair.